Hello and welcome to episode 9 of Jam in the Print Room. I'm Andy McGuinness from Cedo Large Format Solutions, and I'm joined as ever by the talented, wonderful and amazing Jack Gotcha from Ion Display and Matt Hanley from M2 Search. As you can see, we're joined by Bobby Grauf from Antigro Designer. Thanks for joining us, Bobby. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for joining us. As we only recorded the last podcast a week ago, rather than ask how your month is, how was your weekend? How was yours, Jack?
My weekend has been very good. I was back to the Amex for the first time in must be a year for an absolute cracker of a game. Sorry, Chelsea. So that's the way to get over a 7-0 defeat.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, Brian wasn't too happy with that one. My dad is a Chelsea fan.
How about you?
Yeah, mine wasn't too bad. We went to go and see Russell Kane, who's a local boy in Southend. The wife actually booked the tickets for Friday, and we turned up on Saturday, which didn't help. But luckily, they managed to find us a single ticket each in the gods, not in the 22nd row, which we should have been. But it was good fun. It was all good.
I can see it's not improved your banter yet, though.
No, it was good. It was a good show. I like Russell Kane. We've turned into a bit of groupies of his. We've seen him about 5 or 6 times now, so it's all good. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, it was good. Managed my son's under-9s football team as well, so it was a cup weekend. I think it was we got by on the first one because the other team just cancelled a couple of days before. So we're now into the third round after winning 4-1, which is always good. It was an early kick-off on a Saturday morning, which was pretty much determined whether or not we sulk all weekend or we actually have like a nice kind of switch off and stuff. So yeah, Louis' team won, or my team won, and then we scraped past Leyton Orient. So yeah, it was a bit of a tough watch, that was. But yeah, no, it was good. And then we celebrated my dad and his wife's silver wedding anniversary yesterday. So proper family focused. It was good.
Nice. How about yourself, Bobby?
Yeah, something similar to Matt. I didn't coach my son's underage team. I was the impromptu ref because the ref didn't show up. Some contentious decision later. I had to give a penalty to the other team, which didn't go down well. So I can't show my face at training anymore. Luckily, the boys won, so everyone's a winner.
Oof. Nice. And was it a Stonewall pen?
Pretty clear, yeah. He tripped him up and pushed him for good measure as well at the same time.
Just to make sure.
When my lad was in there, we'd come back from 2-2 and we scored the 3-2 goal. But the guy up front completely flattened somebody, so I had to disallow it. 15 years later, that kid is still yelling bad ref at me across the street. He's a great honking thing now.
So, Bobby, for the listeners, viewers and readers, can you take us through your career in print and what you're up to at Antigro Designer?
Oh, of course. Yeah, so I've started in print, what was it, almost 30 years ago, almost 29 now. Apprenticeship as a typesetter in faraway Switzerland, funny enough. And then very quickly joined after my apprenticeship. And because my dad's Swiss, I had to do national service, hence the haircut, for those who are actually watching it. I had to do national service in Switzerland. So after that, I joined AGFA very quickly. So as a 20-odd-year-old, as an applications engineer for newspaper workflow, which was quite fun in the German-speaking world first, and then joined head office midway through the 2000s to do the same job but on an international level. So I had the pleasure of going to the Middle East and Africa and Asia on behalf of AGFA, installing newspaper workflow, which was something as you could imagine, you're looking back, there was plenty of times where you wish you'd be somewhere else other than at an airport or, stuck in traffic somewhere in a country where you don't understand anybody. But of course, I look back to that very fondly and then quickly moved into sales. After that, I was probably a better talker to customers than an actual software engineer. So they moved me up to sales or sideways to sales. And did that as a sales consultant, sales manager later on in newspapers for AGFA in the same region. So everything, always referred to it, everything east of Poland and south of Italy, which was quite exciting, lots of air miles. And then ran the newspaper marketing or the newspaper segment for AGFA in head office. During that time, I relocated first from Switzerland to Belgium and then from Belgium to the UK. The only thing I needed was a big airport at the time, so flying around from Heathrow, might as well. And then around about 2014, moved into white format for AGFA. So that's when I took over the country leadership for AGFA UK and Ireland for wide format digital printing. And that's, I think, around about the time where we first met, wasn't it, Andy? Through AGFA's general manager, Steve Collins, who's long since retired and living a happy life somewhere in St Ives in Cambridgeshire. And that's first when I actually got out of litho printing for in earnest, shall we say, and then learnt a lot about, jetting frequencies and so on. And then around about 3 years ago, a bit more than that, moved over to Germany for a completely different gig. So I left AGFA and ran the European subsidiary as the MD for an American manufacturer of object printing machinery, specifically drinkware, cylindrical printing, but indeed also flatbed object printing in the promo world, a company called Incups, who's an up-and-coming manufacturer of UV machinery for, indeed, the cylindrical and object printing market. The difference between relocating when you're in your mid-20s and early 30s to when you're in your bit older with kids and dog and wife and family is that there is a difference, of course. And we found out that actually we're better off in the UK than we are in Germany. So that was no fault of the company or anything job related. It was more that the family never really settled in Germany. So we came back halfway through last year, and since then, which was it was a great coincidence. It was FESPA last year, Amsterdam, I believe, somewhere at the start of the year. I was running the personalisation experience on behalf of Incup. So we brought a cylindrical printing machine. And I think, Jack, we met in Amsterdam at the time. And the guys from Antigua Designer were there. They were doing all the front end, the personalisation, the online design and kiosk design solution for all the personalisation devices, the Corneat DTG and the MS for all over print, forgive me. And we came up with the machine, and the guys from Antigua came to me and he says, by the way, we can integrate your machine very quickly. I said, yeah. Go away, lads. It's that's going to take you weeks to figure that one out. By the time we rocked up on Monday, they had the reusable coffee cup that we actually had on the show for printing. They had that defined, configured, and we were doing seamless 360 printing on the ink cups during the show. It was fantastic, and that's when I got to know the guys. And when the guys from Antigua, that is, and when I said I'm moving back to the UK, they were very quickly on the phone and says, can we do something together? Come on, let's do something. I said, well, have you got an idea? What do you want to do? I said, no, but you'll come up with something. So I'm supporting them to grow their reach in Europe, the UK, Ireland in particular, but also North America, just to get this very young and energetic company going in slightly in a wider world, shall we say. Specific focus on countries where we can also support them by language, the UK, the US, obviously with English, but the Benelux as well, because they all speak English so fluently. So that's my job really, is to help them grow.
Which type of print companies would take your product?
It's it's a twofold thing, really, Andy. It's we define it as upstream and downstream. So upstream would be people that have an existing e-commerce platform that sell personalized print. That could be anything from drinkware, greeting cards, custom shaped pillows to apparel. DTF obviously is big in that, but also promotional items for B2B and B2C. But it's about personalizing the printed product. That is a big part of it. Stickers, obviously, which is really big in the B2C world. And then more downstream, it's for companies that either have an e-commerce platform themselves or offer print fulfillment for other e-commerce businesses. So where we white label the solution so they can market it to their clients, who then go to the consumer. So it's a B2B2C environment where we offer it. So the benefit of going either way is that Antigua know the creation of the output file really well. I think that's the one thing that struck me, is that they deliver a print ready file regardless of whether you're printing locally with a printer cut machine for stickers, or whether you then go and submit that file from your store to a print fulfillment company that could be anywhere in the world, multiple sites, or a DSV, a dropship, a vendor environment as well.
Is this like a big growth area, do you think, personalisation? It's been kind of like a buzzword over the years, hasn't it? But is this the next big thing in print?
I think so. I think it's more defined now, Andy, the
Mhm.
personalisation part than it was before. I mean, personalisation, since ever we were able to do minimum order quantity one, whether that was on the first Indigos or, the first inkjet or toner-based machines, people were talking about personalising something. Because I'm an old newspaper boy, I vividly remember people saying, well, you can print your copy of whatever paper you like or multiple titles together at this kiosk at an airport. That was personalizing the published word, shall we say, the newspaper in that instance. And of course, technology overtook that very quickly, where we start reading everything on our devices. So that's, I think, in the grander scheme, that was personalization from the very early days. I think now people are much more tuned in to what really works for personalization and what doesn't. And I think it's more that the personalized item is a higher value product and perceived as such, as a higher value product than it was before. If you again, I'm thinking of the gifting and the celebration part of our lives, right? It's someone's birthday, someone's anniversary, at your silver anniversary, right? If you can give something that is made bespoke for the happy couple, it's got a greater value intrinsically to it, which also means that whoever creates that personalized copy or item can also charge more for it. So to answer your question, I think yes, it's grown, it's steadily grown, personalization, but I think there's a greater understanding of how personalization can work in everyone's benefit.
It's the personalization has changed so many markets. When I had a friend who used to sell workwear, just different types of overalls and boots, but that market, everything's about personalization there now, isn't it? And those companies are supplying specifically products to be personalized. We all, well, I'm wearing my t-shirt, but you just see, you can't see almost every workman there. Nice one, Matt. It does have some sort of thing in a way that we didn't do 15, 20 years ago. But where does it go?
Very interesting question. I think there's a difference between the personalized product where it's a one-off, right? Where it's a very specific item product or a piece of print, shall we say, that is relevant for that one occasion and that one person or that maybe group of people. But personalization, of course, doesn't necessarily have to be just one item. It could be multiple items or a longer run, but then customized to that. And I think we're by no means at the end of this. Let's be honest, when we look at print on demand is an environment where if you decentralize your prints, you can very specifically personalize or customize the item for the market that you're printing for. Again, I'm taking perhaps a little bit of a poor example, but if your product is a global one, but you need to customize it for a regional, for a local market, if you then go print on demand in that local market, you very specifically target that market with slightly different messaging perhaps or different content. For want of a better description, that is personalizing as well, because you're taking maybe the fundamental ground or the basic of a product, and then you're adding your local and regional element to it. And I think that's where we haven't seen the last of it. We haven't seen the progression of what that means on perhaps a higher volume. But again, I think with the printing technology as it's moved, I haven't, for let's say 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't know about cylindrical printing on objects, on bottles and cups and so on, until I've met the guys from Ink Cups. And that opened my eye to a completely different area of print. It's been around for a while, please don't get me wrong. Obviously also with pad printing and so on. But I think there's so much more that people do. And one of the things, Jack, perhaps, is I've noticed that brands are taking quite a more closer look at personalizing for events and activities and milestones within their calendar. Great example is Coca-Cola with their, the names on the bottles that they've done over so many years. Of course, they've gone out and made that a step further where you could order, again, as a gift, your personalised can of Coke in a trial store in Covent Garden in London, maybe a year or two ago. And I think that's where brands are starting to come on board with that. And once the brand is there, it becomes a more commonly known or commonly accepted method of print.
I think it's important to the kind of next generation and the youth as well. So, but my son, like I mentioned, he plays football at grassroots level, but he wanted a pair of boots at Christmas time, and he wanted to personalise them with his initials and his age. Thinking, get over yourself, pal. But also, you have to be pretty good at football to get away with that. But it's going back to your point. He wanted some Adidas F50s, but he wanted them specific for him, and it just means more to the consumer as well, doesn't it? If the ability to personalize it, but from the consumer's perspective as well, it's got to be easy to use. That software and that integration has got to be easy, but also for the printers and the businesses as well, it's got to be seamless, hasn't it?
Absolutely. If it adds complexity on a regular basis, so if it's continuously complex, then it's something that will ultimately fail.
Yeah.
It may be a bit more complex to integrate and set up initially, but then it has to be, you're absolutely right, it has to be easy to use. And furthermore, I think what I've seen at least, a lot of the solutions that are out there today are simply not mobile friendly enough. Now, we've done at Integro, we've done a study that 75% of all personalized items in the UK, that is, 75% of everything that's personalized is personalized on a smartphone, because we're doing it whilst we're watching television and sitting somewhere, garden in the pub. No, maybe not in the pub, but you're sitting somewhere where you're not doing it on your laptop anymore. And I think that's where the simplicity and the ease of use and the speed and responsiveness is absolutely crucial, because you lose a consumer in a heartbeat, and he's never going to come back if it's a poor experience. It's absolutely true. There's a pair of Adidas, and I'm an Arsenal season ticket holder. There's a pair of Adidas trainers at the Arsenal club store. They're £100 because it says Arsenal on the side and it's got a little cannon, which you can buy, I don't know, in Sports Direct for £40.
The thing is, with personal, we're getting the big brands involved. They're the guys that have got the big creative brains and marketing budgets behind it. So they're always going to be pushing you guys with the technology.
Absolutely. And I think technology helps us in this area as well. If you think about how much has now been, touted around for various different things, whether it's generative AI, where it creates the content, for want of a better description, whether it's copy, whether it's images. I think the one thing we do see now, and we've built in AI tools to support us in this, is to use machine learning and machine intelligence to create the product outline or the wireframe. Good example is we just launched a photo book creator. So as part of the print customizer, if your business is in the photo book or picture book space, then with clever tools, you can expand the pagination, you can intelligently use layouts with one image, two image, multiple images. Metadata of the picture that you upload is being read out. It's then put into sequence. And of course, also, and this has been around for many years, the automatic image corrections that you can do, right? So that the pictures you took at a wedding, all the 750 of them, that the skin tones are adjusted and so on. All of that helps the consumer to create faster with the right amount of flexibility and get to conclusion and to the order much quicker.
Do you find there's a difference between how the UK operates with personalisation and, say, the rest of Europe? And that's quite broad, I mean, the whole of Europe in together, but do you find there's a difference in the way we operate?
Yes, I think personalisation is much more accepted in the UK as a general rule of thumb. I think and there's a few brands that have driven it in the greeting card sector. There's a greater understanding that first of all, that it's available and there is more choice where you can personalise compared to, say, in Central Europe, where there isn't that much out there. People are a bit coy also to talk about prices. I think there's a great I think there's a greater transparency when it comes to price. In terms of the actual store will list the price. It's especially in, let's say, the German speaking world, people are more reluctant to show a price on a website. Just as a general rule of thumb, and that also means that you're not necessarily offering and opening up all the whole array of what you can do.
Maybe they just want them to get in and browse, and then maybe the conversion rate of once you're actually in the store, for argument's sake, or actually on the website and gone through the personalization process or something like that, and then you've gone, oh, I've done all that, I might as well just buy it now. Maybe there's psychology behind that. I don't know.
Maybe there's more behind registration pages as well. So you have to register first before you actually see a catalog. So there's also to catch the user quicker, more direct. But yeah. So to answer your question, Andy, I think in the UK, and we're a bit more like North America in that sense, is that there is more availability. Hence, there's a greater awareness of print personalisation.
As someone who's kind of worked abroad and lived abroad as well, do you find that work practices are different between the UK and Europe as well?
Yes. Lived and worked in a few countries. The timekeeping is always a good example. I don't think I've ever started a meeting in Switzerland late, but we never started it early either, which is quite interesting. So we always started on time. But no, joking aside, there's the practices are, and I think for those who've been reading up on the news, the German elections are 14 days away now. Germany in particular, which is really the one of the core engines of Europe and the continent, is still stuck behind a lot of paperwork. And I mean manual paperwork, forms and prints and wet signatures and all that. I do feel it's lost a little bit track of the digitization. I think that's, if you read the papers, that's one of the main comments. And having run a business in Germany, I can only concur. It's been quite tedious in terms of getting through certain processes, whether it's with government or even in the private sector, point to point. There's a lot of paper, whereas we tend to transact quicker.
That's difficult, isn't it? Because then that kind of reflects the culture and the mentality and the speed of your workforce as well, which then transpires into, like, on a social occasion and things like that. And it's herd mentality of, it's just we've always done it that way. And then you start to kind of fall behind all your other kind of counterparts and other countries, and maybe that's what they're seeing now, perhaps.
Perhaps a little bit, yeah. I think that there's one flip side to everything. I think the desire and the drive to do things right is, of course, so strongly ingrained, and we're taking Germany as an example here, but the desire and the willingness to almost need to do it correctly. And this is how we've done it in the past, and we know it's correct if we do it that way. So we stick to this because we can guarantee the same outcome at the highest possible level and the highest quality, which, you're completely reliable when it comes to it, right? You buy something German, you know it's going to work. There's no two ways about it. But at the same time, it does stifle a little bit, and it does, reduce your flexibility a little bit when it comes to that.
Do you do any kind of transacting with companies abroad, Matt?
I have done historically, but not since I set up my own business, no. I think for me personally, the opportunity in the UK is big enough anyway, to rather than go and overcomplicate it. And it's all about who you know as well, my job, isn't it? So I'd have to go and build networks in wherever it might be. So I can do, but in terms of speed and finding and really matching the right people with the right thing, it's all about the network. The network is your net worth, they say.
Absolutely. I always find that when we go to shows, especially Vespa and Drupa, the UK are less likely to travel abroad to those shows. And it's always found that the UK don't really have the representation to go and look at new kit, whereas Europe still have to travel, still have to get planes in. They're more willing to do so. I always found that a little bit strange, and what our mentality is about why don't we travel to those shows?
It's a good point. We always remember it vividly in the ACFA days, of course, right? When, all my counterparts out of France and Italy, and especially Scandinavia, the Scandinavians always love to travel to a show. I think it's a bit of a cliche, but we do have a bit of water between us and the continent. And that means we don't so readily jump in a car and drive. Of course, ferries and Channel Tunnel and all that is there too, but it is much more. I think it's a more common practice for someone in Holland to jump in a car and drive to a show somewhere in Germany, wherever that may be. Even if it's in Berlin, someone in Holland would jump in a car, or in Belgium. The French would obviously have their own shows. So I would say, again, giving you another element to that, Andy. The French never travelled to trade shows either, not as much as other European countries, because they had their local trade show. They had the local availability of going to showrooms and trade shows and looking. Perhaps we're a bit more like the French in that sense, that we used to have our own shows, and of course we still have our own shows, and that was always good enough. Long gone are the days of IPEX where we had the whole world come to the NEC.
Yeah, it's been a while. And we touched on the last podcast about what gets your goat, what annoys you about working and life.
It probably is repetitive whinging. I don't know whether that means anything. If something, we can all have a whinge about a problem, or something doesn't go well, or personal problem perhaps. But at some point we need to let it go and just move on. Either fix it or drop it. And I think having to go back to the same old problem over and over again, that annoys me a bit.
I've got two, and one of them is similar to that. So if it's not in my diary, it doesn't get done, and it doesn't happen. So when I've arranged to speak to a client or a candidate or something like that, it will go straight in my diary, and I'll call you at the time that I say that I'm going to call you. So when I understand that things happen, or you might have another call that runs over or whatever, but it's pretty petty, but it pisses me off when I've said I'm going to call you at 9:15 and then the other person doesn't answer. It just puts I feel like I'm all out of kilter then. And then the other one is, when someone sends you an email, it's just like, Matt, comma. I feel judged. I feel like I've done something wrong. Just say hello, please. Not just, Matt, please see this, or Matt, do this. Yeah, just a bit of pleasantry, bit of small talk first. Come on. Maybe it's just a guilty conscience where I'm like, oh shit, what have I done? Why have they not saying hello to me?
Is that specifically on an email?
Yeah, I think it probably is more email, because everything else is much more kind of conversational, isn't it? And you don't normally kind of lead with "Hi Matt" on a WhatsApp or whatever. But yeah, email probably 90% of the time. Yeah, and Andy, don't try and be funny next time you send me an email. Matt.
I don't do that when I'm telling you off. Mine's lack of manners. I've added that one. Just people not saying thank you for opening up the door, not letting you through. Just please and thank yous and all those kind of things. We had a guy on the bus. We were going into town for a drink on Saturday, and a guy wanted 10p, and he said, "Yeah, fine, there's 10p." He was actually on the bus with us, and barely said thank you for it. It was mumbled. It wasn't like a thank you. It's only 10p, no biggie, but just lack of manners. I think that's starting to be eroded a little bit in society these days.
I was talking to someone about this the other day, actually, and occasionally I kind of catch myself saying thank you to the self-checkout. Who on earth does that? I mean, it's just common courtesy. Like, thank you very much, robot. I did your job for you. Yeah, it's stupid. But and then talking about personalization and AI and things like that. Like if I don't really use AI or Chat GPT, but do people use manners on that? Would you please, can you format this? Please, can you do that? And like when the uprising happens, are you going to be up on the hierarchy? He was a pleasant guy. Yeah. Thanks very much for that, Jack.
I hope so. Yeah, well, very polite to Gemini is my new friend, even though she's not entirely to be trusted. I'm going to say, I've noticed that AI will do and say things because they think that's what you want to hear. Oh, I'm going to go away and do something for you. you're not, are you? No, but you seem to want me to, so I said I would. Okay, that annoys me.
So one of the
Yeah.
things we were discussing off the podcast was when you're feeling down, run down, stressed, tired. Jack, how do you kind of recharge your batteries, or do you just power through?
Sometimes you do just have to power through because there's stuff that has to be done. And at least a lot more of what we do can be done in isolation. So you don't necessarily have to spread whatever it is you've got around to people. But yeah, sometimes you just got to kind of put your big boy boots on, take some Lemsip or whatever, and get done what you need done, and then go and collapse in under a duvet as soon as you can. I think the whole thing with the pandemic has sort of reminded people that actually being brave and going out there and doing things when you're not well isn't really the right thing to do. Maybe you'd love to be somewhere and do what you're supposed to be doing, but there's a very good chance you're going to make lots of other people poorly as well. So you are better off doing what you can.
How about you, Matt? What's your kind of trigger point for, I need to recharge, stop?
I think Bobby and I are probably very similar in this situation, that we're not allowed to be ill. Just like I've got 3 little kids, 10, 8, and 4. So for me, I've just got to suck it up and get on with it. I will come into the kind of garden office, or also known as the shed, just because it's peace and quiet, and I can sit in here, and I guess I've got the luxury in terms of recruitment and the technology that we've got. There's always stuff to do that doesn't necessarily involve actually face to face or talking. There's stuff that I can always do. So yeah, just for me, just suck it up and get on with it. Especially being self-employed as well. I haven't got any other option really. But thankfully, touch wood, it's very rare that it happens. When I do need to switch off, I will go fully cold turkey. Like at Christmas, when everybody else is off, it's a real good opportunity for everybody just to. I had a digital detox and everything. The only downside is that when you do stop, it takes you a little bit of a while to kind of build back up again, doesn't it?
Yeah, that December time is great in the print industry when everything's pretty much shut down for 2 weeks. I love that. It's my favourite time of year, just to switch off, lay horizontal, stew my own juices, and recharge after a busy year.
What about illness for you though? Because you've been like proper like month after month full of.
Yeah, probably burning the candle at both ends. I do go out a lot. The wife and I are always out socialising. I go raving, yeah, and always travelling and going out. So yeah, it's my own fault. I've always been told that I burn the candle at both ends in the middle. So I do need a weekend, which we've just had really. The wife wasn't feeling too great on Saturday morning. So yeah, just sitting down, watching a bit of Netflix, chilling out. That kind of gets me back into kind of full health really. How about you, Bobby?
Many years ago, I would have said, because I was a 20 a day man, I'd just, take my packet and go outside and walk around the block and have a good puff. But I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So that's what kept me going during the day. I think, Matt, I'm a bit like you, 2 young kids, and you just have to get on going, But we do have the luxury of having family in Europe, and that, the change of scenery that re-energizes me tremendously is to be able to go and see family and just drop the kids off and say, these nightmares are yours now for 2 days or 5 days, and go away and do something just as a couple, which is quite nice. So that's and even if it's just sitting there and not talking to each other, even that is just nice.
We've got a surprise question for you. We always ask the guest, or the previous guest asked the next question for the guest. So what song gets you focused when you're at work? Which song gets you focused? And also, what is your last meal choice?
It will be to get me focused on something that has to be on time, precise. It will probably be, to show your age, Bob, something like something drum and bass or jungle. That would
Nice.
that would focus me.
I've found my next rave partner.
Yeah, there you go. And then, what do you mean by last meal choice? As in before the gallows?
Yeah, let's say that. Make it a bit morbid. Why not?
Starter, main, dessert.
I will show my European roots here. It would probably be a green salad followed by a schnitzel, and those, the what do you call it? The pork schnitzel with batter and potato salad. That will be it. And Black Forest Gatto, thank you very much. And and then there will be fireworks afterwards.
Very nice. Jack, how about you?
I think final. I think I'm going to go for the seafood thing. I think a bit of dressed crab as a start, just so it sort of takes a while to prepare to put off the inevitable divide. A bit of dressed crab, a bit of lobster as a main course, but I'll go Italian for a tiramisu to finish. And what was the other one? The song? Well, I'm not so much jungle, and I heard so much jungle and drum and bass when the kids were teenagers. It I'm a bit more of a house garage person back from the early '90s. So I think if I've got to I'm very good at having music around me and focusing, so I can listen to just about anything. But
Nice.
I do love a bit of house.
What about you, Andy?
This is going to surprise you, actually, considering I go raving and like house music. Ain't No Stopping Us
Westside.
Now. No, Ain't No Stopping Us Now by McFadden and Whitehead. So, I listen to that when I'm in the car going to customers, get myself in the zone.
How does that one
And
go?
I'm not
Just
going to
give
sing
us-
for you.
You're
No,
not
not a
going.
chance.
God's sake.
Not after your singing. The viewership went down after your singing last week. So my death row meal would be something like a caprese salad. So mozzarella and tomato. I'd then go vitello milanese. So veal, kind of like a schnitzel really. So veal and spaghetti. And then I would go sticky toffee pudding.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you, Matt?
Song, I would go Fatboy Slim, Right Here, Right Now.
Nice.
Literally, big build up, a proper kind of euphoric-y type stuff, but then also, literally, the words are right here, right now, focus, let's get it on. And also, City come out to it, or they used to, like, come out to it as well, so it's a bit like spine-tingly, kind of goosebumpy type stuff. And then my meal would be, I'd go like, I don't even know if this is a thing, but it should be, and do your arancini, so like a spicy arancini,
Nice.
which I absolutely love. Then I'd go steak and dauphinoise potatoes and some greens, and then I would go big fat profiteroles.
Lovely. Very good
Yeah.
choices.
There we have it.
There we go. Thank you very much for joining us today. Hope you've enjoyed it.
Very good. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Not forgetting my manners, Matt. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, pal. It was good to chew the fat.
Very good. Well, good luck with the podcast. I'm looking forward to the next episode. I'm not going to listen to the one that I'm on, but I'm sure I'm listening to the following one.
Cheers, guys, and we'll see you in
Cheers.
the next one.
See you later. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.